I'm Jessie Janae, and you're watching Unboxing Things, a show where we unbox brands, but only talk about their packaging because that's fun. Let's see what I have in my mailbox today for us. We have Native. If you've watched Unboxing Things before, you might know that we've unboxed Native before, and they have a beautiful box. Now, today we're unboxing their envelope. They ship different products in it, and I'm excited to see what's inside. Now, this might just look like big blocky letters. Yay, I'm here. But it's so much more. When I use my loop to investigate the print details, just as suspected. This print is a flexographic print. And when you look closely, you can actually see a tiny amount of bleeding on the edge of the print. It's a gorgeous print. There's nothing wrong with it. What I'm identifying here, though, is that similar to a rubber stamp on paper, it gives the opportunity for the ink to bleed a little bit. This probably plays into Native's decision to use big, blocky text because a fine detail might kind of blur out or evaporate. So I think they're using the print method really effectively here. Now, flexographic printing can do fine detail, but the amount of detail you pick up is also kind of limited by the material that's being printed on. You see how this is like a fibrous craft? It's not just like a normal craft, it's a fibrous craft. Probably has a high recycled content, which is great for the planet, but it means that it might hold less print fidelity than a really smooth piece of paper. You have to factor that in as well when designing the print. Now, there's a handy dandy tear strip on the back here that allows me to really easily open this package without finding scissors, etc. I mean, I'm a pro, so I've got scissors like at the ready at any moment, but not everyone lives like that. This tear strip is really effective, and let's talk about what is a tear strip even. Glad you asked. A tear strip, in this case, is actually a piece of thin plastic, very thin, that is embedded into the backside of the paper. And then there's a little pull tab that tells you where it's at. Now, on a package like this, the tear strip is really important because the package itself inside has shredded paper. I'm gonna show you. Now I'm gonna use the scissors. Before we even go in there, I'm gonna show you what's in the layer of this package. Whoa, it's like a dusty attic, but is it an attic? No, it's a mailer. But what I'm showing you here is that the tear strip is serving an important utility because it's designed to go in a place where the mailer is actually assembled, which means that opening it with the tear strip does not make it so that this dusty paper gets everywhere. Now, what's inside here? Inside the two layers of the mailer is some fiber material. It's probably a combination of macerated paper, meaning shredded paper effectively. If you're thinking, I love this package, I'd love to use this type of package for my brand, there's an important note about printing you need to be aware of. If you notice how there's printing here on this little flap, and also how this package is puffy, but the print is actually quite crisp in general, that's because the print was definitely applied to the paper prior to the paper being converted into an envelope. When the paper for a piece of packaging is printed before the packaging is produced, it's typically called preprint, meaning that this paper had to be printed pre it being made into a mailer. Compare and contrast that to post-print. Some packaging can be printed after it's made into the packaging. So if a box already exists and then gets stamped with a logo, that would be post-print. Form factors that require preprint typically require higher MOQs, minimum order quantities, because in order to convert a bunch of paper into mailers, all just for Native, they need to do a decent amount of volume on the machine. For a pre-printed padded mailer like this, you can expect an MOQ of about 10,000. So let's go inside. All right, inside this package, there's a beautiful piece of collateral. There is a packing slip, and then there's the product itself. And fascinatingly, this is plastic-free. I don't know how much you know about deodorant packaging, but it is usually very not plastic-free. The caps, the twist components, all those pieces are single-use plastics that might end up in a landfill. So Native is making a bold step here by actually using this telescoping tube made of pressed paperboard. Wait for it, folks. All right, this tube has that really satisfying suction sound. Boop. I love this tube, and not just because of its sustainability impact, but also because it has that satisfying pop sound there at the end. How much do you know about the anatomy of pressed paperboard tubes? Well, I'm about to tell you that this tube has a shoulder. Yep, not a human shoulder. It has a tube shoulder, meaning that this sleeve, this would be the sleeve component, when it goes down, it actually hits a base component instead of covering and sheathing the entire tube. The shoulder gives you something to grab onto, and it's just right sized for my thumbs and fingies. And then, instead of a twist component that again would be a plastic piece, you just actually pop it up with your finger. Easy peasy. Sometimes the intentionality of packaging is just as much about what isn't in the package as much as what is. In this case, this tube is printed, so there's no label required. So there's just nothing else except the actual product that you use, the deodorant itself, and the pressed paperboard. Paper, paper, paper. You've got paper mailer with macerated paper inside. You've got pressed paperboard in the sheath, the telescoping component, the part that you touch with your hand. Then you've got a paper pack slip and a piece of paper collateral. What does that mean? This is 100% recyclable. You just assume that deodorant maybe needs to come in plastic, but I love Native actually making an intentional effort to try out an entirely new form factor. It's an ambitious project. I haven't even shown you the collateral card. It's a tri-fold card printed on both sides, white paper stock with a slight sheen, kind of a satin, and then one color printing. This is a kind of a very effective way of actually explaining the product itself. Gives you tips for your pits. That's cute. Gotta wash this way, 4 steps to fresh. So it actually covers their deodorant product line, soap, and then also their dental product line as well. So this collateral card can go in any Native shipment, meaning that they don't have to print multiple different types of cards depending on what you ordered. Everyone gets this information. So this collateral card is 2-color. You've got the bright blue color that you can see. The text is actually black, but also this might look like a 3rd color, but alas, it is not. If you use a loop or you have really great eyesight, you can see that there's actually a halftone pattern on this text. It's the only place you have to live. That text is halftone pattern. It looks like a lighter blue, but it's actually the dark blue ink just printed in dots to make it look light to your eyeballs. Halftone patterns are a dot pattern that uses an ink but uses it to disperse and make it look lighter to the naked eye. Our eyes are actually not that good, and it turns out they're pretty easy to trick. When you create a collateral card that addresses the entire product line, there's pros and cons. The pro is that you can actually throw this in every shipment and you don't have to actually check what's in this shipment should this card be included, meaning that it's only for the dental products, etc. The con is that you have to design something that applies to everyone. It might use a little bit more material, but you might make up for that in terms of the inventory and lack of inventory waste by stocking multiple cards. Everything's trade-offs. I would say, depending on how large your product line is, you can decide what's best for your brand. And lastly, there's an 8.5 by 11 letter-sized pack slip. Usually it's great to use a normal size pack slip because it can just go through a normal laser printer, which almost every fulfillment center uses. So basic, but important, and also fully recyclable. I think it's time for a recap. Native has some incredible packaging, but I want to draw your attention to a few key things about this package. 1, it's plastic free. Have you got that? Not just the package actually, but the product too, all plastic free, the whole thing. 2, it's guilt free. You can recycle anything in this box, especially after you use this product. Even the casing, the packaging itself is recyclable. And 3, it's pared down. This is measured more by what's not here than what is here. What's not here is extra packaging, boxes, extra components, any little moving pieces relating to the deodorant tube. There's so much not to love, and that makes the actual package really, truly incredible. This has been Native Unboxed.